Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. Good to see you. How's things up your way?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Thank you for taking the time to, kind of discuss working together and kind of what's
Mhm.
happened over the last few months. Can you tell everybody kind of who you are? What do you do? What's your main specialty?
Sure. So my name is Mike. Hi, everybody. I have traditionally had a career in marketing, web development, digital marketing, primarily in higher education. So I've worked in a couple of different colleges and universities over the last 20 years in various roles, from beginning web guy to AVP of marketing. So really the
Mm.
full gamut of roles. So um, I'd always had this agency as a kind of a side hustle. So we would work on small business and little fun little projects here and there. In 2018, I went full time at it. Decided, what, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to see how it goes. And so 2.5 years in, kind of here we are.
Awesome. Awesome. So before we work together, kind of what warning signs kind of appeared in your business that told you that you needed to work with us? What kind of services?
Yeah, I think the big change for me was going from being running a team of between 7 and 10 people to having to do everything myself. So I didn't have in my own agency and work a lot of the processes and things set up to position me to be successful. So every project that came in, I was reinventing the wheel. I was also in charge of sales, accounting, fulfillment, programming, design, development. I was the Facebook ads wizard. Like, I was everything. So that proved very quickly to be a lot. And really, especially in a lot of areas that I'm a creative guy, I'm a strategy guy, I'm not an accountant. So I had to learn about all that. And that's been an ongoing kind of educational piece. So I really was doing everything. And what I found is that was leading to 8-hour days turned into 10, turned into 12. And I'd see my family for a little bit and then head right back into the office and work till 2 a.m. and just got on that cycle of repeating that work over and over and over again. So it was affecting me. That was affecting my relationships and also affecting, the work and my relationships with my clients, which is, obviously not something you want to have a negative relationship with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what problems did we solve for you?
How long do we have? Because I could go for about 2 hours. The big thing was, I guess the easy answer is we put in better processes in place to streamline and process everything so that we weren't reinventing the wheel. The work that we do, whether it's digital marketing or new websites or anything, this is not, we're not making this up for the first time every time we work with a client. So putting those things in place and processes from pre-sale to onboarding to fulfillment to post-launch, just really working those out helped me realize where the bottlenecks were and where maybe I don't have to be involved in the process. So where are potential spots that we can pull myself out of? So the process stuff was really key, but it's more than that, because it really helped me for the first time think about why I was doing this and why this was important to me and what I wanted this business to be and offer and what was at the core of it. I think a lot of times you'll see some programs on Facebook or Instagram where it's, get 1,000 clients and get a 7-figure agency. But where's the heart in that? And where's the, personal fulfillment other than bashing through a lot of people that you don't care about just to make a ton of money? I'm not in it for that. So just really reinforced our decision to be in the kind of niches of education, nonprofit, e-learning that we've been in, because not only can we get personal fulfillment of that and a little bit of money, but we can also really help these organizations that are doing amazing work in the community with lots of different people. So, that piece of it was also important. The introspective, the reflection piece, as well as the kind of the process work that we did.
Absolutely. Thanks for going into grave detail. What if we didn't deliver? Like, what would have happened if we failed to deliver on that service and that promise?
Um, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Not in the sense of something bad would happen, but I, probably would have reached a burnout point or a realization that like, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not working out, and I'd be in a job somewhere. And that's nothing against a job, but I would not be on my own. I would be an employee somewhere where I could focus then on just one small piece of the puzzle and not having to be in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Where did you start in your search for a solution? When things started happening, like, where did you start looking?
The first place I kind of started was talking to friends of mine who do run agencies. They're all a little bit different, but that was a good starting off point for, as I start off on this journey, what kind of things do I need to be aware of? What knowledge and kind of experience could they share with me? Read a bunch of books, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and some of those things were better than others. Sometimes a YouTube video or a book can be somewhat cookie cutter, or sometimes they're in the wrong niche for where I wanted to be. So I think really the talking to people at the very beginning was really beneficial for me.
Good. Kind of get like a good foundation to know what kind of questions to ask, or
Yeah, and just things that I didn't even think about, being I didn't realize, paperwork stuff, business banking, all those things I didn't, hadn't thought about, because when working in a university or a big business, there are other departments that take care of all that for you. And I would pick up the phone and say, I need a computer for one of my new staff members. And 3 days later, a computer would magically show up and would be good to go. Now, I was working originally on a 6-year-old MacBook when I started this and thought, I need a new computer. Okay, that's on me. And so it's all of those things that you don't realize at the very beginning that you're going to be responsible for. Suddenly now you are in charge of.
Absolutely. What made us kind of like stand out from other options?
To be honest with you, it was the discovery call that we did. As probably a lot of other agency owners know, I mean, you're bombarded daily on Facebook and Instagram and all these other places with, quote unquote guru methods and done for you stuff. And, most of them are just dumb and not helpful or ridiculously expensive. But kind of in talking with you initially, and go on your website, watching things before we even talked, I did a little bit of research. Just you were coming at it from the perspective of, this is not a done for you thing that I promise you'll be a 7-figure agency in 30 days with all this recurring stuff. Like, no, I mean, you really were about the holistic look at me, why I'm doing this. And then we'll dig into the process to position me to grow, to thrive, to scale, with the ultimate goal down the road of being even more hands-off with it. So it was not a get rich quick scheme, and that became really apparent in our initial conversation on the phone. It really is a positioning me for long-term success, not a quick flash in the pan.
Awesome. Thank you. And then what obstacle almost prevented you from buying our service? Was there any obstacles that kind of came in the way?
You're completely honest, it's a one-person thing just getting going. The thing that kept me up at night was really the cost of it. Being a new agency, starting from scratch, there wasn't a ton of money. We did not make a ton of money the first year. So it came into that, and talking to you, realizing that's a pretty big investment early on in the lifetime of the business. But, I've already, sounds so cliche, but I've gotten 2 to 3 times worth of value from that, just in processes, prospecting, all the work. I'm sure we'll talk in a minute about employees and in growth, but just putting this stuff in practice saved me 2 years of having to learn all that on my own. So it kind of hopscotched me a little bit down the road, which was great. Not that I wouldn't have put the work in, but you've put the work in, and I can kind of benefit from the work that you've done in your expertise to be able to jump right in and turn it around really quickly.
Thank you. What features of the service kind of sold you on the purchase?
The conversations with you that we've had during the weekly conversations that we have been just really great, because it's been kind of a chance to take what you learned kind of in the course and the videos and now ask specific questions or take specific deep dives into a particular topic. Not around so much how that idea works, but how can I twist and adapt it to work for me in my situation? No two businesses are the same, and they're going to come to some of those things, each with their own, processes or ideas or thoughts about how they want their business to run. So, I'd watch the videos and come in then with questions and say, how do I apply this? Or how does this fit, to me? I think the other spot that I've really benefited from is like I mentioned, doing that introspective work and the reflection through a series of kind of worksheets in Google Docs, where for the first time I was really putting a lot of what was in my head into the page, so that I can kind of think about it and streamline it. So why am I doing it? What are our key, agency goals or, mission statements, and how we want to approach that? Had it all kind of in my head, but when I put it down on paper in a structured way, in an ordered way that made sense, at the end of the process, I can see the evolution of it. And we came out with a much better mission statement, a much, better set of goals and dedication towards the types of organizations that we work with.
Excellent. And then that is new sense of clarity that you found. How has that benefited you now?
I feel like we're in a much better spot now to be able to take on more work, which is the goal. This time last year or a year and a half ago, if 2 new clients with decent sized projects would come on, I'd be in a world of hurt. Again, just being me, be a bad time. And now with the processes and the scalability that we've done, additional help we've brought on, we're in a spot that if 3 or 4 new projects came in, I'm not freaking out. It's more like, cool, let's go. Let's do some great work and really help these people, because I know we've got the tools and the processes in place to handle that. And as we get better at working through the process and get used to a certain level of number of clients, when we go up here and up here and up here, we're just continuing to scale and we're not freaking out.
And you've gone through quite a transformation over the last few months working together. You talked a little bit earlier about being the solopreneur and taking on all the hats. And then just recently you had a couple of cool things happen, at the beginning of this year. And then also that led towards a big transformation of not just being a solopreneur. Can you talk a little bit about that journey that you've been on?
Yeah. One of the parts of this I really hadn't done, again, being the only person, was doing any kind of goal setting or, really setting something to work towards. So that was one of the big things we did in setting a kind of a revenue goal and number of new clients goal and projects goal, and setting up the tools to be able to track that has been really helpful. What we also did was start to position the business and the resources inside it to bring on the first employee, because it's not just a matter of, well, I'm going to hire a salesperson or a project manager or a developer. They can start next week. Like, it's not that easy. So really, you guided me through that process of why is it time to hire? Is it time to hire? What is the right role that you need? Let's structure this role. Let's think through the job description and the things that you want this person to do. Let's write a job ad. Let's, where are we going to advertise this? So for the first time, really walking me through that was so educational and so helpful, so that at the end of the process, we made a hire, and he is awesome and really, really starting to take a lot of that load off me, so that I can be more strategic, also focused on more of the sales end. And he's handling the day-to-day kind of project management and client relations. And it's great. Now our clients are talking to him, and he's able to be pretty independent to free me up. So really helpful, really great so far to be at the end of that process now, making our first hire. But it's all a series of steps that you can't just jump to the end and say we hired somebody. And now the exciting part is as we continue to work together, we're starting to plan the next hire and what is the next step and what is the next person and role that we bring on to help us grow and help us, just continue to scale up.
Absolutely. And from the new employee's perspective, how long have you had the new employee?
Just about a month. He started right at the beginning of April, so we're talking here at the beginning of May. So it's been about a month, and it's been really great. The thing that he's commented to me was he's just so happy and relieved that the process is that we did the process work last year. So he was able to come in and with a 2-hour Zoom call that he and I had, he got the process and he understood why we did what we did, what the flow was, and where do we communicate internally? Where do we communicate with our development partners? Where do we communicate with our customers? And just really understand that flow. So, I have spent less time training him than I may have with no processes, and we have to kind of think through, when we do a new website, what do I start with? We've got all that. So he can really take that and use those resources to hit the ground running. And as he gets more comfortable, then I will continue to give him more and more responsibility and things to do as he learns the business and as he really gains those customer relationships.
Awesome. So a good experience overall.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, funny because, he's getting more and more independent. I'm less and less hands-on with him. He's doing great work. And now I'm, back to working on the business as we always like to say, thinking about, rechecking in with our goals and scaling for the next role and doing a lot of prospecting and kind of lead gen and getting new business. So it's a little bit of a change also for me, which is exciting. I like new things and new challenges.
So throughout this journey that we've had together, what has exceeded your expectations since working with us?
Just the depth of it. I kind of have an idea in those discovery calls that we did really early on, but it's so amazing just the depth, as I mentioned, from inward kind of perspective to outward business positioning, building a great team, hiring, there's just so many steps in there. It's not, there's no skimping on content or particular topics. And if I did have additional questions, the time that's, with you that's built into the program gives me a chance to explore a particular topic if either piques my interest or I have questions. You've responded to emails when I've sent them late at night. Sometimes when I'm up, I'll fire off an email. And so that accessibility and that ability to take an already very deep and very helpful program and supplement it with talking to you to get additional, either a deep dive or spin it in a way that really helps me understand how it would affect my business and my team, just so beneficial for me.
Awesome. What can we do better in the future?
That's a great question. You can edit this out later, but I think, as you grow your own business and you're adding on pieces like group coaching or a kind of a guru group on Facebook, I think that would be a great addition. A space where other people who are like me, who are gone through the program, so we understand what we've all been going through, and have a space to collaborate and share, give feedback to each other in a kind of a safe space, because we're all colleagues, I think would be really beneficial. So that's really the only missing piece. I've gotten so much out of the program, way more than the value of what I paid for it, but ongoing, that'd be kind of a cool ongoing thing to just connect with people who have also been through the program like I have.
Totally. Yeah. And that is off the cuff. Yeah, that is part of the whole transformation. I wanted to get results for you guys on an individual one-on-one basis, then build it into a process that just does it. And then it'll be a lot easier to have you guys kind of learn from each other, because there's things that are in your journey that you can share with others and kind of be a teacher, but then in other aspects, you'd be like, how are you doing that? And then learn from another person and really collectively grow. And since you guys are all doing you're in the similar space, but you're all taking it from different angles, I think there's a lot of accountability partner opportunities, strategic partner opportunities. The whole program's based around, if it's not your strength, figure out somebody that you can pair up with. And then this gives you an opportunity for that. So,
Yep.
Yep. Is there anything else that you want to comment on about our service or your experience?
If you're if you're in a similar spot where I was, where you were maybe new to being on your own, this kind of program can be really beneficial. It's not a replacement for the hard work that you're going to have to put in. Jesse's program certainly is not just pay this money and all of a sudden everything happens. Jesse didn't do the work. He put the framework there and led me through it, but I had to do that work. So if you're, ready and have that ability and time to do that work, I mean, you're going to get so much out of it, and really, transform your business, the way you think about business, and scale to grow to be successful, which is ultimately like what we all want to do. But I'm seeing tangible results of it in terms of increased revenue, new staff, new types of projects that we're taking on, just really seeing that. And had I not done this, middle of last year, I definitely would not be in the spot where I am right now.
We're only getting started, Mike.
That's the fun part.
Well, awesome. I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. And we'll just keep on rocking and scaling your business.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's make hires 2, 3, 4, and 5, and up, sky's the limit for us. So I appreciate your help. Thank you so much for your guidance, and the amazingly in-depth program. I've learned so much from it, have applied so much from it, and just in a materially better place than I was a year ago. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.